Hello and welcome to the channel. I'm the Thesterninator, but my friends call me Stern. Recent leaks for Pokemon Legends Z to A have been rolling out by the sheer truckload, and we as Pokemon artists have been rushing to sift through the rubble in an attempt to find something with any form of legitimacy. In our last leak vid, we explored the ideas expressed by LickyLeaks' post regarding Z to A, where they proposed a Grass Dragon Superior, a Fire Fairy Blaziken, and a Water Steel Feraligatr. Now, we in the Fakemon community are no strangers to leaks, some of which look really real, and others we just wish were real. So while these predictions have their faults, they're also perfect fodder for an artist like myself. Because Feraligatr is my favorite Pokemon, so how can I pass up the opportunity to turn him into a battle-ready knight? Well, today I want to tackle our supposed grass starter, a Grass Dragon Superior based on royal lineages. And while Feraligatr is my favorite, I've always been a true grass starter trainer. In Generation 3, I absolutely fell in love with Trico's design, and the Pokemon anime taught me how cool Grovyle could be. But then we got to Sceptile.
Oh my god, what is that? Oh my god! What is that?
Oh, Sceptile. So much potential! And after that, I took up Turtwig, then Snivy and Chespin, all the way up to the latest released with Sprigatito, the most precious boy. I don't know, I just always loved the grass starter designs, and I'm far too hipster to even acknowledge the fire starters. I did eventually come around to Sceptile, by the way. I was Wonder traded a shiny in Gen 6, and today he's right behind Feraligatr in my list of best starter final evolutions. But today, we're not talking about Sceptile or Feraligatr. No, we're talking on what if Superior was a Grass Dragon type. And stay tuned after for a special surprise that dives further into our leak list. So for Superior, we knew that we had to encapsulate that regal look as well as getting some of those draconic qualities. One thing that I kind of noticed about the Hisuian versions of Pokemon in reference to their counterparts was they all kept mainly the same body shape, and that really allowed me to get some information on the direction that I wanted to go. We want to keep kind of the same body shape. We're not doing anything absolutely insane here, because for a bit I thought, okay, well, we'll make it a dragon. We'll make it an actual four-legged, huge winged dragon. But the more I thought about that, the more I realized that's kind of not the direction that the Hisuian forms went, so I want to keep things as close as I can while still giving them a little bit of a new vibe. So you can see here that with Superior, I kept that long serpentine body, but I wanted to take into account the one thing that Superior is often criticized about, which are those teeny tiny little arms. If this is going to be a dragon, it needs to have wings, so I made it more of a worm, W-Y-R-M. So it has those huge wings, a serpentine body, and I thought, this is no more than a peeled snake. Very weird to say, but that's kind of always how I've seen Superior, is it's a snake with different sections of the body peeled out. And I thought that's a really good opportunity to create horns. So I peeled up the eye skin a little bit. God, that sounds terrifying, but I peeled up that eye skin just a little bit to create those horn shapes. And as I was doing so, I continued to look, where else can we add these peelies? Where else can we keep that same motif that Superior has? And so I added in, like I said, those huge wings, these ridges along the back, whereas Superior has these, I believe, 3 little sprigs of leaf coming off the tail. I thought, well, we should add a little bit more. So I added those ridges there, as well as this huge hoof of pollen or foliage, whatever it may be, very similar to Florges. I didn't want to take that entire idea where Florges has these budding roses and plants and flowers and these dangling bits. I thought those would all be really cool, but Florges already has that. So what else can I do here? So I made it almost this cotton material that I think adds into the idea of it being regal. It's almost this larger robe that wraps around its neck, allowing it to drape down and giving those wings a little bit more purpose and shape as they burst out of that cotton or pollen fluff. I spent some time then kind of experimenting what I wanted to do with color, what I wanted to do with some extra shapes, and decided that less is more. One of the biggest things that I did, I think, was changing the color of Superior from white on the bottom to that yellowish color. And since it's dragon, I wanted to take that into account just a little bit more, give it a little bit more flavor where I could. So whereas Superior has a red eye, This version has a purple eye. I feel like purple is a dragony color. Let me know in the comments what you think. Am I wrong on that? Is purple not the go-to color for dragons? But yeah, I think that doing those slight changes, giving some of the shapes a little bit more purpose, really add into the whole concept that we're going for here. I wanted it to feel regal. I wanted it to feel draconic. I wanted to bring those elements in, and I feel like doing so in the way that I did gave it some personality that didn't stray too far from where Superior already is. It's a very full of itself, very pompous Pokemon. It has that energy and vibe about it, and I did not want to take that from it. I want it to continue to have that. And it being a dragon, why would it lose it? If anything, it would gain more. So here's my take on what I'm for the moment calling Colossian Superior. I wanted to keep the shiny very much the same, but kind of amp it up a little bit. Superior gains this bluish hue to its outer robe type area, so I wanted to make this feel a lot more blue. After all, it's a dragon. It should feel multicolored and crazy. It's a little bit longer than the initial Superior. It obviously has that dragon trait to it, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. I think that while Superior was never my favorite grass starter, this definitely gives it some more oomph, gives it the ability for me to say, oh, okay, well, maybe. I think it gives it some purpose apart from kind of just being a snake and filling out a certain niche that it needed to at the time. But we are not done yet. There were some other things in those leaks that I really wanted to tackle, including the return of Megas, which I think a lot of people are really excited for. There were also some of these new forms that were incorporated to different Pokemon, such as new evolutions for Bibarel, Xerneas' ultimate form, all that great stuff. But one that really captured my eye as a grass Pokemon lover was that Chestnut, a Mega Chestnut, grass and steel. Felt like a missed opportunity that's finally getting its chance in the spotlight. So without further ado, let's jump into Mega Chestnut. So this design kind of came second nature to me. I knew immediately where we wanted to go. I knew what I wanted to do. And for once, the design carried all the way through. Maybe it's because Chestnut is just a character that I love so much, and the shapes are fairly simple. I knew that he has this big shell that could be expanded upon, so I did that. First and foremost, I grabbed the shapes that already exist, the shapes that are already there in Chestnut, and made them bigger, expanded on them. That's kind of the whole idea of Mega, right? So I took that shell, and I made it this big sphere. I took the arms and I made them something that kind of closes in this sphere. I didn't want to draw a ball, but I wanted to capture a lot of those ideas. So he almost looks like a big basketball, I'm now realizing, but I'm super happy with that. I was able to make those protrusions that were just an added part of the design into the majority of the design itself. I took that little shape on the center of his forehead and made it bigger, made it this focal point of the design. It was something very small, something very minor, but at the very outset I knew, okay, this is going to need to expand. It's going to need to get bigger, and it's going to need to be the main point of this concept, because being a giant ball is one thing, but where are we going to focus our energy towards? So I was able to use that shape to focus it central towards the face. I think apart from that, it's really easy to lose that in the design itself. So I did that. I wanted to make it feel a little bit more rigid, a little bit harder, and so I wanted to capture that like steel type of vibe. So I made those spikes come out just ever so much more, added some extras. I don't know how much more I can say. It's a ball with spikes. There is no greater design concept in the world than a ball with spikes. Ask the medieval knights, they know, they carried maces, they get the whole idea. And that was actually an idea that I played with a little bit too. What if he was a mace? Chestnut is a chestnut knight, after all. So what can we do with that? How can we make this feel just a little bit bigger? So I put him in this stance where he's very much blocking. He is a living blockade in this Mega form. He's gonna have this incredible durability, this incredible defense, and it's something that I wanted to make sure was brought in, that this Mega is a very highly defensive character. That's where that steel comes in. I even went what I think is a step further by taking his fingers, which were initially these little like pine coney little outbursts, and what if they linked together where he could fully block his body? And adding in that alongside the designs of the shell that already existed and expanding on them, I feel like really gave us some flavor here that we didn't see in Chestnut, but I felt like we should have. I don't know, it felt like this was the most likely scenario for the direction that he was meant to go, and yet it didn't happen. He became this big, lovable, huggable lunk, but this whole idea of him having this giant shell that we kind of saw in Quilladin, and that we saw the sparks of in Chespin, kind of just went away. It became this robe almost. It didn't have that hardiness that I felt like it should have. And so the opportunity of a Mega, whether these leaks are real or not, and I've heard a ton, hey, they can't be real because of this aspect, that aspect, or this one. I get it, I understand. But the idea of getting to play with these and utilizing those supposed leaks as prompts, I think is worth its weight in gold. We're able to see what we could do and gives us the ideas for what we have the ability to do and create something out of that. So sure, maybe a Knight for Alligator isn't gonna happen. Maybe a Dragon Grass Superior based on Regality isn't gonna happen. Maybe we're not gonna get a Mega Chestnut. But the ideas and the opportunities to create something out of that, using those as prompts, that is exciting for someone like me. For someone who loves to draw these characters and is constantly looking for prompts and ideas, it is exciting. That's one of the things that if you haven't seen the Elden Ring series, that I really enjoy. We're doing a series where we're turning Elden Ring bosses, specifically from the latest expansion, into Pokemon. And the comments are invaluable. The comments allow me to see, okay, what is it that you are excited about? And that is what fuels me on these. And so having this prompt of supposed leaks, again, real or not, likely or not, it is a great prompt and a great opportunity to get to start conversation on these things. I do think that Chestnut will get something. I don't know what it will be. I'm kind of thrown off that they're bringing back Megas. I think Megas are one of the greatest gimmicks that Pokemon has ever done, and I really turned a corner on Dynamax and Gigantamax as well. But Megas really, I think, stole the show when it came to introducing new gimmicks. It brought back old favorites, gave them abilities and gave them forms that we were very excited for. And I think that bringing them back is astounding. And it may be because I'm not used to the Pokemon Company hearing us out in this way, which is unfortunate. But I'm so glad that it's happening. And it gives us a lot of opportunity, a lot of prompts that as a Pokemon artist, or as a Fakemon artist, I should say, I see as invaluable. So here I'm playing with some of the color a little bit. How much steel and iron do I want to incorporate into this design? I started out with a lot, just heavy steel type all the way around. And I play with the colors a little bit more, and eventually I end up going back to our initial concept with color, because I think the pose, the stance, the barbs all kind of speak for themselves. And I don't want to overstate what the design is saying. So here is our Mega Chestnut. I am super happy with how it worked out. I played around with the colors a lot, and I think I came upon something that I can say that I truly, really enjoy. Of course, he has that bump in power. We incorporated that steel type into his initial grass build and took away the fighting type. But yeah, I think that Big Orb really works. I don't know. I think we as a Pokemon community have established that Orb Pokemon are best Pokemon. And yeah, I cannot state enough how proud I am of this design. But sign off in the comments down below. Let me know. Do you think that these are Pokemon who are viable for your team given these designs? Or you can subscribe. You can become a member now, which is super awesome, and get access to these videos early. You can also subscribe to us on Patreon. Find us on Ko-fi. I always post a lot of designs there that I end up drawing and then not doing anything with. So if you're looking to fill out a Pokedex, head on over to the Ko-fi. I think we have a lot of stuff on the various socials and a lot of videos coming out, including our Smaugust stuff from Subjectively Jack. He'll be linked down in the description below, and our exploration of the Kostawis region, this region I've been working on for a couple years. So with all that, it sounds like you know where to find me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!